I'm Alison Araten. I'm from Millburn, New Jersey. I'm a senior this year. And then, so I did, it's called Tufts Summer Research Experience. And I did it the summer after my sophomore year. So I guess 2 summers ago now. I found that program because I really wanted to do something that like involved research, like science research, and like really hadn't done anything like that before. So wanted like kind of a structured program to go with it. But this one was like a very kind of free program in that like it was sort of what you made of it. And so you applied to the program and were matched like specifically with a Tufts lab. Um, and then I was actually the year I did the program was the first year of the program. So it was kind of like just starting out. But so I was matched with a lab and a graduate student that I worked with. And I was actually the only high school student in the lab. There were like maybe 10 or 20, like somewhere between 10 and 20 different labs that people in the program were placed in. And it was really just like, it was a 6-week program, 5 days a week. We went into the lab and I worked with the grad student. And then kind of at the end of the program, it was like culminated in like this poster session that, you know, almost everyone in the program kind of had a project that they worked on like start to finish. And so we all at the end like presented the different research projects that we did. The food at Tufts was good. It was like one dining. Tufts, I think, has maybe 2 or 3 different dining halls. It was just one that was open to us, but it was, totally fine. They were open for like 3 meals a day, and it was pretty good food. And then in terms of the social part of it, so my program itself was pretty small. I think it was like 25 to 30 of us, but Tufts has a lot of like pre-college programs. And we were kind of all staying in dorms together. So there was like a large group of people to kind of do things with. And they did a really good job of just like having different activities every night, especially at the beginning when like we didn't know anyone. And it was, very relaxed in that like if you wanted to come to these like the organized things you could, but you definitely didn't have to. And like the way they organized it, um, we kind of within like the dorm that we stayed in, each floor was like a group of, I think it was like 8 of us. And we were kind of like our RA group for the whole program. So like socially it was a lot of fun just because like we did a lot with that group in particular, that like closer group. But then there was also like lots of opportunities to kind of meet people and do other things with kind of a larger group of people in different programs there. The best part for me was like I found this program because I wanted to do research over the summer, and like I definitely felt like I did that. It was really cool because I was pretty much for 6 weeks working directly with like she was a PhD student in the lab, and I was like, by the end I had this project that I was able to say like I had worked on and like a poster that I had my name on and everything like that, which was really, really cool. And not necessarily something I realized when I was researching the program that like it would be so kind of individual like that. Worst part of the program, I guess, was like we did have every afternoon we had to go to like these seminar type sessions where it was like they went through things like how to do, or like how to use like databases or like citing sources or things like that, which like none of us really had wanted that out of the program. It was kind of, we all did it to do research. And like, there were a lot of days where I would have much rather like stay an extra hour or 2 in the lab, but instead I had to go back to go to the seminar class. That wasn't exactly communicated to us beforehand. Again, though, I know that, my year was the first year they did it, and I know they got a lot of complaints about those classes. So it's possible it's changed a little bit since then, just because they were kind of working everything out. So that was just kind of a little bit of a disappointment just because that wasn't really what I wanted out of it, but it definitely wasn't like such a big deal that I would advise anyone not to do it because of that or anything like that. I think a couple of things, like one thing was it was a 6-week program, which a lot of them were not that long. And I kind of liked the idea that it was like you really could see a project from start to finish instead of like just coming in for a week or two here or there. I also, I mean, this was more in terms of just like kind of social, like fun summer stuff to do. But I really like Tufts is right very close to Boston, which is really nice because like a lot of weekends, we'd take the subway into Boston and like be able to spend the day there. Which like I'd say, especially over the summer when like you're looking, at least I was looking for like something fun to do also. That was really nice to kind of have that as an option. And I mean, I also, what I really liked about this program and was sort of unique in that, like, as I was researching, I didn't see a ton that were like this, was that, like, so I was the only high school student in the lab, which meant that, like, I pretty much got whatever attention I needed. Like, it wasn't that they were like splitting, between 10 or 12 different high school students who were all trying to learn like different techniques and everything like that. It was kind of whatever I needed, they were there to help me and I was there to help them in any way. Um, and I just thought it was a really cool kind of way to, first of all, get like an individual relationship with like these different professors and grad students. And also just kind of, I thought I was able to get a lot more out of this program because it was like really just me in the lab than I would have if like, again, there were, it was like a more kind of structured thing with like 10 or 12 or however many different high school students would have been in the lab. It definitely was an expensive program, but for me, I do think it was. And I think largely because, so after, I did that organized program. And then since then, I've been able to like reach out to different professors at like, there's one I'm actually working with now at Dartmouth who like when I emailed him, I said, I have all this experience from that summer. So like you don't need to train me in all the basic, like the lab basics. So I really could just like come in and help you with whatever you need, which I think was really nice. And it made it much more likely that like someone like him would be willing to say yes to me doing work for him because I kind of had that background. Um, so I mean, it definitely was expensive, but I kind of think going forward, like having that foundation and those skills will definitely be worth it. For me, I think a big thing was um I think I started looking into programs like maybe even in October, like sometime in the early fall. So I kind of had an idea of like what I wanted to apply to even before a lot of these applications opened, which I think for me was really helpful because like I pretty much as soon as the application was open, I had my application ready to go and sent it in. Um, and I think because I sent it in so early, I was really able to get, like, once I was accepted, I was able to get kind of first pick of the lab that I wanted just because they hadn't filled up any other spots like that. And like I know I had a couple of friends there who, actually had wanted to be working in my lab, but because they applied later, they were offered, another lab that was less interesting to them that like, they still ended up enjoying, but it wasn't exactly what they wanted. So I would say just like my big advice would be get the application in as soon as you possibly can, just because like the spots do fill up and like, it doesn't necessarily mean you won't be accepted, but you'll have kind of a much wider range of choices of like where you actually end up, which lab you actually end up in, which is definitely a huge part of the program. Um, because a lot of it is so like individual and dependent on the professor, the graduate student you're assigned to. I do think I definitely got lucky with the lab I was placed in. I had some friends there who like, their professors weren't as kind of willing to work with them, or like they got a grad student who was not really in the middle of such an exciting project or something like that. I mean, other than that, it was a fairly straightforward application process. There's like one or two essays that you have to write, but nothing that's such a big deal. But yeah, I'd say definitely my big advice would be to get it in early.